the summer solstice, cause
everybody want bottles, living for a throttle. You just want bottle day. Tell me joy, west side. I been trying to find it before I go all the way. Cause everybody got problems, everybody starving, but don't you go off today. Don't you go off, don't you go off now. That's right. Don't go off. Yeah. Nah, don't you go off, don't you go off now.
for the bar. Keep it smooth like a dawn, making moves in the dark. Cause I learned how to swim in the pool full of sharks. Now they cautious, cause they can't read all his motions. How the kid never switch codes, but he code switch focus. Staring down your team with a frozen ice cold look that could end the summer solstice. Cause I'm more like the top dog. Keep on running game and the gang will accost y'all. I be calling plays from a plane while I'm off court. But we ain't the same, you a lame, I'm a mob star. Actually, I'm a top dog on a stat sheet. Off court, but I call plays for the athletes. Laughing when the cop cars try to catch me. Cause I rolled off in a taxi. Put my feet up, I'm relaxing. Singing Figaro with no accent. While I pour strings from the streets in. Do it all with a straight face, I'm the kingpin. Top dog, top flow, boss mode, I'm the kingpin. Showstopper, top dog, God vibe, I'm the kingpin. They know I'm a dog and a beast, man. Yeah, I keep the peace with a piece, man. I ain't got no time for a piece, man. Why would I respond to a pawn? I'm the... Hold up.
If I let my dogs off the leash, then you might want to get out of Dodge while the evening. Honestly, think it's not the blood and the beef, and they don't leave anything behind after eating.
I can see you soft, ever thought about retreating. If you never have, then they'll give you a reason. Better watch your tone, lose your bass when you speaking. Underneath the mask is the wrath of a prince. When you learn how to smile in their face, then go cutthroat. Then they wanna call you a con when the blood cold. I remember starving while y'all had a truckload. Now I'm with the mob with the call and the gusto. I'm a top dog on a stat sheet. Off court.
So as you can see with today's workout, hang snatches, and I'm looking for some maximal strength carryover. So I've chosen a long jump to a sprint. A bit more maximal strength functional sport carryover for a change of direction. And because I like to always hit or see what it feels like at maximal speed, because I've got such a small space, I'll finish with a 3 to 5 second sprint on the treadmill. That's my conversion. So for today, big rest periods, 3-minute break, trying to just get my breath back in that 3 minutes if I can. But I did a thorough warm-up this morning. It's only 15 to 20 minutes, but I stretched all my muscles. I knew I was going overhead today with snatches, so I did a little bit more mobility overhead. So as usual, I start with my neck. I moved on to my quads. I hit my glutes in different areas. I did a little bit of QL because I knew I was going to be overhead with heavy weight, but then I also worked on my overhead range of motion. So that's pec major, that's pec minor, really trying to work up to a good overhead weight. But then I worked on two really lazy and I'd say lagging muscle groups on my part, is my glute medius and my VMO. To some degree, they just don't function properly sometimes. So I do a little bit of activation for those, and it doesn't hurt to also build the strength on those. So I did 3 sets of clams, and also did 3 sets of a single-legged squat, really trying to work on my ipsilateral hip higher so that it would really target the glute medius on the opposite side. So that really helps me get that lower catch in a snatch, because I find when those muscles aren't working for me, I don't feel comfortable in getting underneath that catch. So I'm going for 6 rounds. I've done 3 already. I've got 3 to go, and 20 seconds before I gotta go again.
I call plays for the athletes. Laughing when the cop cars try to catch me. Cause I rolled off in a taxi. Put my feet up, I'm relaxing. Singing Figaro with no accent. While I pour strings from the streets in. Do it all with a straight face, I'm the kingpin. Top dog, top flow, boss mode, I'm the kingpin. Showstopper, top dog, God vibe, I'm the kingpin. Cause I'm back out, whoa, look I'm back now, back now, back now, back now, back now. Somebody tell them that we back now, back now, back now, back now, back now. Somebody tell them that we, yeah. I got the city on my shoulder, straight to the top, yeah. I told you I never drop what I'm holding, yeah. I got the team with me, we gotta go and we on a roll, so we never see defeat.
Yeah, lights still shine even when the world's dark, and I still stride even when it gets harder. We've stayed steady since the day that we started. No, we ain't stopping, I know we got it. Look, we back now. It's been a minute, foot is on the gas now. Ain't no limits, I swear I can never cap out. Yeah, they don't let me loose, I'ma act out, cause I'm back out. Whoa, look, I'm back now. Back now. Back now. Somebody tell them that we back now. Back now. Back now. Back now. Back now. Somebody tell them that we back now. Back now. Back now.
So now I'm going with leg press and some back extensions for my high volume stuff. So I've dropped the weight down a little bit and let's try and get high reps.
I'ma act out, cause I'm back out. Whoa, look, I'm back now. Back now. Back now. Back now. Back now. Somebody tell them that we back now. Back now. Back now. Back now. Back now.
And when you do the 45-degree back extension, because hamstrings in most people are fast twitch dominant, you're wasting your time if you go anywhere past 6 to 8 reps. So I'm gonna go 6 reps, quite heavy, also adding a snatch grip, which helps me get a little bit lower and also makes sure I have to come up a little bit higher to get that full contraction. So the first is a reverse crunch. Now the proper way to do it, if you can start with a flat bench, you need something to anchor onto. Now it's all about the setup. So when you're lying down, you want to make sure you have this angle here at 90 degrees. Because the error a lot of people make is they're just working their hip flexors when they're doing reverse crunches. Up, all you're seeing is your hip flexors are already short and they're just shortening. The thing about the lower part is actually coming up and curling and also resisting on the way down. So as you anchor, it doesn't matter how much arms you want to work, you're trying to do your best to keep that angle in the legs and resisting on the way down. Again, trying to feel those lower abdominals come up and curl and come down control. It's like any muscle, up concentrically for 1, down eccentrically for 3. Now typically I will find a lot of people will find that challenging, but for myself I have to make it a little bit more challenging. I'll increase the bench. 1, again, this isn't overly hard for me, but I'll show you. You might want to progress to this. So just on that angle, easily makes the lower abdominals are now in more of a stretch. So, but I still need you to keep that 90 degrees at the knees. It's harder to keep that angle, but it's definitely a more intense contraction of those lower abdominals. Try not to use your arms too much by pulling up, because then you're going to get the upper abdominal contraction. You're trying to just mentally, it still helps to visualize those lower abdominals coming up. Now my favorite one is to do it on a Swiss ball. Now to do any abs on a Swiss ball is actually much more beneficial than anything that you can do on the floor or even on the bench. Because as you think about it, not many people understand is the abs can actually have the ability to extend past 0 degrees to get to 15 or 30 degrees. They obviously also have the ability to flex 15 to 30 degrees depending on your low back tightness. So it makes sense to do it on a Swiss ball where you can drape over the ball and get full muscle contraction through its full range. So the way you sit up on this one, it's a bit tricky to find the position, but you'll understand when I get there. As I extend over the ball, I want to position the ball that I can feel my lower abdominals are now in that distended position over the ball. So as I bring my legs up, it's a little bit harder to keep that position, but already my lower abdominals are stretched to maximum and trying to keep that angle again through the legs. You can see as I'm coming down, I'm really working on, there's the extension of the lumbar spine, really stretching out the lower abdominals. And then the next one I'm going to take you through, because I see a lot of people do it incorrectly, which is the hanging leg raise. So similar to when I see people do reverse crunches, there's just a lot of hip flexion going on. So typically what I'll see is people coming from here, just going knees to chest. Yes, to some degree my abs are working on the way down, probably mainly rectus abdominis and obliques, but are my hips shortening? Of course they are. They're lengthening and they're shortening. It makes sense a bit more to then take it to where my legs are up at 90 degrees. I've got a neutral spine through that lumbar, so you can't tell, but I'm actually arching my low back because you want to think about the natural curve for the lumbar spine, because we're looking at extension and then flexion through the lower abdominals. So it looks like this. A lot harder to try and keep that angle, 90 degrees, up and finish at 90 degrees. But full with that extension at the bottom, so my chest is up. I'm trying to really extend those lower abdominals. Now the last little key here is, to some degree, holding your legs up at 90 degrees, the hip flexors are going to engage. If you point your toes in and have the toes touching, it'll switch off the hip flexors and you're working mostly lower abdominals. So 90 degrees, toes touching and drive. And just thinking about that toe drive into each other to keep that position of the feet. There you go. Much better way to target the abs. Give that a go. Lower abdominals Monday, obliques Wednesday, upper abs Friday. I'll give you some more workouts for obliques and upper abs during the week.
They try but they'll never get by, baby. You can try but you'll never get by, baby.